Hello and welcome to Depth Camera Essential Volume 29. Today we're going to review the Intel RealSense Depth Camera D455. This is the 4th generation in their D series, and this is as a comparative model against the Z. I want to show you some of the differences, especially because they're using active infrared stereo. Okay, so let's just go through some of the ideal ranges and the utilizations and implementations of this particular product and the differences versus the Intel D455i and some of the other depth cameras on the market. So this particular sensor also has a global shutter. So the Z2 only has a rolling shutter, and this makes a big difference when you're trying to use it outside. Okay, the ideal range for the D55 is 0.6 meters to 6 meters. Again, the pixel size is 3 microns by 3 microns. Again, if you remember, the Z2 had 2 micron pixel size, and I was also using for an inertial measurement unit the Bosch BMI 055. Okay, and the minimum Z or Z for the max resolution is about 52 centimeters, and the depth field of view is 86 degrees by 57 degrees plus or minus 3 degrees, and then the depth output resolution is 1280 by 720 at around 90 frames per second. On the RGB, again, it's global shutter, and the RGB frame resolution is 1280 by 800. The RGB sensor field of view horizontal by vertical is 90 by 65, and again at 90 frames per second. And RGB sensor resolutions at 1 megapixel. Now, if you remember, the Z2 has two 4 megapixel RGB sensors. That's why it's so highly resolute. Essentially at 2K per eye. And then let's go ahead and take a look at some of the length for the camera system. Now, for the D55, it's about 94 millimeters. So what they did was they took the 435i and they spread it out a little bit wider. So if you're looking at binocular disparity, when they spread that angle out, the difference of the triangulation from camera to camera, it's going to allow a higher resolution and when it's inferring depth. But if you compare this camera series, now if you just look at essentially the dimensions on this camera here, you can kind of see that the Z2 is 175 millimeters. That's a big difference when you're comparing it. But again, the Z2 does not have active infrared stereo. And I receive a lot of questions on YouTube about active infrared stereo and what exactly does that mean. Now, it implies an advantage when you have low light scenarios. So if you're operating in an environment that is less than 100 nits in visible light, and the active infrared stereo is outputting via some kind of vertical cavity surface emitting laser between 840 nanometers and 930 nanometers, a class 1 laser. Okay, so what that does is you can actually see here on this coded light sensor, the SR305, I'm going to take this active infrared stereo and you're going to see that pattern on my body. You can kind of see it right there on the top right of this image. So that is the active infrared stereo that you cannot see, very similar to other flood emitters, used on the front of iPhones and various other systems. This is just projecting an infrared pattern, different than a coded light sensor. Again, coded light have already created a depth camera series discussing this technology, but you can see that. So as soon as I take it off, the coded light goes back, and if I project that onto my body, that's what you're seeing now, is that projected pattern. And this projected pattern in low light environments can establish a higher resolution, and it also offers the camera a better image analysis, especially in dark environments. This is a big deal in regards to drone technology. So if it's flying at night, if it's flying near critical infrastructure, near bridges, and so on and so forth, this can give you an extra element of visibility, whereas the Z2 cannot do that. Now, it's still, the Z2 has it's more sensitive at 40% higher than the Z1 as compared before, but it still has that limitation, and it also has to rely on 3000 CUDA cores, whereas the D Vision series for the Intel RealSense has all that compute packed inside of the platform. And what a significant advantage that is. And again, they built on this for the last 10 years for this vision processor. It's the D4 vision processor. Okay, so it's a really significant advantage. I wanted you guys to kind of see the differences in size for each one of these different camera systems and how you can implement and utilize them on robotic platforms. Okay, so very similar in the implementation initiatives that you can have out there. There's so many different options when it comes to depth cameras and platforms, and I want you guys to understand that's why I create this open and free sharing initiative here for educational series. I believe that freely sharing, freely empowering engineers and scientists around the world, you know, is the next stage of our evolution, and it's so advantageous for people that don't have access to all these sensors, that don't have access to computers, that don't have the background understanding of SDKs and C APIs and Python programming languages, to come onto this channel and go through each one of the volumes and actually see what the sensors look like and how you can use them. So in the future, my next initiative will be to take every one of these sensors and start implementing and using them on drone technology, on robotic platforms, on scientific research and development platforms, so you can see what it looks like when there's 4 Intel 455s all configured together, or you have Azure Connect. 4 different sensors. I have that coming up for the calibration. I believe that was Depth Camera Central Volume 24. I'm going to circle back and finalize a lot of that information that I included in that. But what that's doing is allowing you to come in here and build up your own applications, building up your own knowledge base and your expertise. Again, you want to build up the foundational knowledge and skill sets of you and your entire team or your organization, because these perception engines, these types of imaging sensors, there's going to be billions of them around the world. So it's going to behoove each and every one of you to dive into this technology as soon as possible, because even if you think your organization will not benefit from using some kind of a perception engine or some kind of a simultaneous localization and mapping, some kind of an AI inference model, trust me, it's going to be all over the world. Not only touchless interfaces, but intelligent interfaces, intelligent platforms that communicate with each other. So that's why it's so important to understand what these perception engines are, because they're really an additional pair of eyes that you can develop and deploy throughout your organization that can help you streamline return on investment, enhance productivity, increase efficiency, and all the things that the executive leadership team is really focused on, especially now in this day and age. Thank you so much for tuning in to Volume 29. Please subscribe today. It means the world to me. I love engaging with you. If you have any questions, if I can help you with your proof of concepts or your developments or your iterations, or if you just have a question you don't understand, please let me know and I will endeavor to do my best. Have a wonderful day. All right, I'm always sneaking extra content in the back end for my YouTube subscribers, so you can actually see this display of the infrared active projection of this Intel D455. So this is what's being used. You can't see this, right? We can't pick this up with our vision, but the computer can pick this up, and it's overlaying it over the RGB camera, and this will help you and your robotic platforms, your drones, to see and navigate in conditions, again, where the visible light is less than 80 to 100 nits outside. So just to show you this now, I'm going to overlay an align example. We're going to align the infrared active projection over the RGB. Let's get started with that. This is the Align sample application where you can overlay the RGB 1 megapixel image over the active infrared projection. So we'll go from the texture transparency of 0%, and we'll slowly increase it so you can start to see my features. Now this is helpful in different types of applications again, and it also depends on what you want your perception engine to look like and how this information can be aligned again with multiple different cameras. And that's really the advantage here, is having a setup of 2, 4, 6, 8 different cameras in a factory, a warehouse, even in external critical facility applications where you're looking at different types of infrastructure, and then you can take these images and track people that are coming in and out. You can also do biometric security and surveillance using the same kind of initiatives. Really, really useful. I wanted you guys to see what this looks like. Thank you so much. Have a great day.